Greetings, my good people. This is Brian Mazique, aka Franchise Play, and I'm coming to you with another AskFP. It's the first one of the new year. Happy New Year, everybody. And we got the question of the week coming from one of my most faithful AskFPers, Jarrod Young. He says, pick your Team USA for the Olympics: 5 guards, 5 forwards, 3 centers. Who would you take to Rio? Thought that was a really good question, and I went ahead and put together an entire team. Now, this is going to omit Kobe, and I'm just going to say I don't have a problem if Kobe goes, but this is the 13 guys that would be like the best team: John Wall, Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler are the guards. Yeah, there's no James Harden. The forwards would be Paul George, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, and Blake Griffin. And in the middle, we got Boogie, D12, and Andre Drummond. Aeneas Thompson says, since Dirk Nowitzki is about to pass Shaq, do you think he will get to Jordan? Well, it's possible he can get to Jordan, definitely. He's 37 years old, though. Now, he is averaging 17 points a game, but he's got a little ways to go before he can get to Mike. Mike, I believe, is 32,600 something, and Dirk is like at 28,000. So that might be 3 or 4 more seasons for Dirk. And when a guy's 37 years old, he's not scoring 2,000 points a season anymore. So we'll see how health goes and that whole thing, but I don't know. XGW says, what overall improvements does WWE 2K17 need to move forward and compete with UFC 2 recent announcement? I don't really draw the connection between WWE games and UFC games. I think they play just different, but just in general, they need a deeper my career. I like the steps they took this year, but I do think they still need to flesh it out even more. They need more free gameplay. I've been thinking about this term, open world arenas, and I really think that's something that the gameplay could benefit from. Being able to fight into the crowd, into the backstage, up the ramps, just pretty much with everything in the arena, you can interact with it. So I think that would be the biggest thing for gameplay. Thanks for the help. No problem. Says, will Chip Kelly coach again in the NFL? I think he will. I think they'll give him some time to, somebody will take another chance on him, because there's still this belief that he's a genius, but he does have to learn how to deal with the players a little bit better, because this is not college and it's not a dictatorship. And when you start hearing all different types of guys saying the same type of thing about him, then there's an issue there. But somebody will give him another chance. This probably may not be super soon, not as a head coach. Thanks for the help. Also says, who will be the biggest name moved at the NBA trade deadline? That's interesting, man. I think a lot of it's going to be smoke and mirrors, but I would probably say it's going to be Rudy Gay or Joakim Noah would be the biggest names moved at the trade deadline, which is 2 pretty big names. Thanks for the help. Also says, who do you see coming out of the AFC? For me, 4 of the 6 teams have a legitimate shot. I say 4 to 6 because I'm including the Bengals. I'm excluding the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs. But if the Bengals don't get Andy Dalton back, I don't think they can come out of the AFC. So then you have New England, Denver, and Pittsburgh, which I think Pittsburgh is the most dangerous team in the playoffs period right now. They're nasty. But I'm going to pick New England to come out of the AFC. I just think something happens there. It's hard to bet against Belichick and Brady when it really comes down to it, but that offensive line needs some serious help, and they got to get healthy at wide receiver. Thanks for the help again. Says, how many Hall of Fame quarterbacks are there in the league today? Well, you got Drew Brees, and somebody help me if I forget somebody, but you got Drew Brees, you got Aaron Rodgers, you got Tom Brady, you got Peyton Manning. Those guys are unquestioned Hall of Famers. And we could talk about Cam Newton and Andrew Luck and those guys, but the truth of the matter is if they don't win anymore, are they really going to go? Eli Manning's an interesting guy. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings, but his regular season work doesn't really match. So, but those the ones that I mentioned initially are absolutes. Phillip Rivers is, but he hasn't won. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Aset Nakapov, I believe this is your first question, and welcome to AskFP, sir. He says, do you think Tony Roten is good for the Knicks? I think they could use him to a degree because they don't have a lot of guards that can break anything down off the dribble. Tony Roten's biggest issue is he can't make shots. And when you play with Melo and now with Kristaps Porzingis, they need people who can stretch the floor. And Tony can't really make shots from deep. But I do think maybe coming off the bench as an attacking guard, that would be a valuable asset. You also have Simon Torve Sunland saying any NBA teams who will see a change of fortunes into the new year. Happy New Year. Keep up the great work. Thank you, sir. If Steph Curry doesn't get healthy, Golden State could be seeing a really big change in fortunes without him. I think if we're wondering, did he deserve the MVP, I think we're seeing it now, even though Golden State is still winning most of the games without him. They clearly look like a much different team, and we haven't really seen them beat a good team without him. So, I think they beat the Nuggets and they beat the Rockets, who are not a good team right now. So we'll see, and lost to Dallas, got blown out by Dallas. So that's one team that jumps out immediately. Simon Torve Sunland also says, with Bledsoe out for the season and the Suns already struggling, is this season a lost season for them? If not making the playoffs is a lost season, absolutely. They really should probably consider tanking and maybe moving everybody on that team not named Brandon Knight. And I don't know if I would hold on that tightly to him if I got a good offer. They are literally in a position where anybody on their team shouldn't be, no one on their team should be untouchable. So in some instances, that's an exciting time, but yeah, I guess that does equal a lost season. Jovan Radovanovic says, give me your top 5. He wants my top 5 athletes of 2015. I almost picked this one as the question of the week, but I don't know. I wanted to definitely answer it, though. Serena Williams would be number 1. What she did in 2015 was amazing, even though she fell short of the Grand Slam. Steph Curry would also be there. A lot of people may not like this, but Floyd Mayweather Jr. would definitely be there. He beat the guy who everybody said they couldn't wait for him to fight in Manny Pacquiao, and then finished it off with Andre Berto. So that's a humongous accomplishment. Conor McGregor, definitely. You want to talk about talking the talk and walking the walk. He did it all through 2015. And the last one might be a surprise. Some people might not want to consider him an athlete, but hey, I'm going to tell you, Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins had an amazing 2015. He made himself the absolute best professional wrestler in the world. Jarrod Young says, how do you think Wilt Chamberlain would do in today's NBA? I think Wilt Chamberlain would be a good player in any era. There's no way he dominates the way he did when he played. There's no way he averages 50.4 points a game, which is he did in his best statistical season. There's no way he averages 20 rebounds and 20. There's no way he does that, simply because the amount of 7-footers and athletic 7-footers in the league are just, there's somebody like that almost on every team. But he still would be a very good player, but just not that dominant. Jovan Radvanovic also says, how far will Serbia go in the Olympics with Teodosic, Marjanovic, and the rest of their squad? I think they're definitely one of the best teams, one of the best international teams heading into the Olympics. We have to see whom all is included in the United States team to see whether or not there is any hope for another team to win. There's always hope. The gap has been significantly closed. This isn't the era of the dream team anymore. But obviously, Team USA is still going to be the favorites. WD9JO says, do you think the Magic will make the playoffs this season? I do. I think the Magic have pretty much proven themselves to be consistent in that manner. And Scott Skiles is the type of head coach who is always able to get his teams to overachieve. My question always with Scott Skiles, very much like Tom Thibodeau, is when you have talent, when you have the talent, the type of players maybe necessary to win a championship, are you going to be able to relate to the players, deal with them on a human level to get the best out of them? And I think they do it well when they have the scrappers, but when they have the true stars, I don't know. Jarrod Young says, how far will the Warriors go without Steph Curry? I think they would struggle to make the playoffs. What do you think? Well, I mean, they're not going to struggle to make the playoffs, with a 32-2 head start. But depending on their first round matchup without Steph Curry, yes, they could be in danger of getting upset, I believe, in the playoffs if he wasn't there. But I think that's not going to. I think he's okay, and I hope he's okay. So hopefully we don't have to see that. If they get beat, they just get beat, but it won't be because he's hurt. The name is James says, who is the NFL and MLB's Kobe Bryant? It's a little bit different, obviously, because it's different sports. But if I had to pick somebody in NFL, it'd probably be Tom Brady, kind of a imperfect superstar, a guy who maybe might not be the guy who you're going to say, oh, that's just the nicest guy, but he wins, and he wins defiantly. In Major League Baseball, it's even harder to find a correlation, but I would probably have to say A-Rod, even though the tainting is different than it is with Kobe, but I would say that'd be the closest thing. Brady Babin says, rank the last 5 NBA draft classes from worst to best. Now, Brady, it's a little bit difficult to do that because you can't really, it's too early to evaluate 2015 draft class, but for me, the worst draft class in the last 5 years has been the 2014 draft, which is pretty early for that one too. But if I had to give an early grade, it'd be a C-. Then we go to 2013, which I'd give a C+. And I would say 2011 would be a B, and 2012 would be a B+. So it takes a long time to go into each draft class, but I went ahead and graded them, and so that was the answer I came up with. Brady Babin's got a one gotta go. He says James Harden, Klay Thompson, Jimmy Butler, or DeMar DeRozan. Honestly, it was really close between DeRozan and Harden on this one for me, but I went ahead and said DeRozan would be the one that's gotta go. But I'm just not the big James Harden fan like a lot of people. I think he's an extremely inefficient player, and I'm just saying, I'm just not drinking the Kool-Aid like everybody else is. Brady Babin has another really good one gotta go. He's got Leonard Fournette, he's got Christian McCaffrey, Heisman Trophy winner Derrick Henry, and Florida State running back Dalvin Cook. There's a couple ways to answer this. If you're talking about looking forward and like the NFL player that's gonna be the best, or which one I guess is one's gonna be the least effective. If you're looking ahead, I'd say Derrick Henry's going to be the least effective out of the 4. I think Leonard Fournette's going to be a monster. I think Dalvin Cook's second. McCaffrey's going to be third in the NFL, and then Derrick Henry. But as far as college, the one that's got to go as far as college, that's tough. That's very tough. I don't know, because Dalvin Cook had an amazing season. I don't know. And maybe Leonard Fournette because he slumped. So I guess that. But as far as the NFL, I think he's going to be the best. Brady Babin says, where do you rank Odell Beckham Jr. at wide receiver? I rank him number 2 behind Antonio Brown. I would say so. I would agree with that, because what I look at for wide receivers is guys who teams come out and they absolutely know that this guy is going to be the focal point of the offense, and can they stop him? Can they contain him? And those two guys are, to me, have proven to be like the least containable receivers. Julio Jones is right up there, but I would give those two guys the edge. Jarrod Young also, he asked, will Ray Allen return, or do you think he will retire soon? I don't know if he's going to ever officially retire, bother to even answer, but I think he's probably done. If he hasn't come back yet, I just can't imagine, unless he has a legit plan that's based around his kids getting to a certain age. And because he keeps himself in such great physical condition, and because of the type of game he has, it's always kind of a glimmer of hope. If there's a guy that could come back at 40, 41, it would be him. But I think he's probably done. Greatness GFX 16 says, is John Wall a top 5 point guard? Absolutely. There's no way in the world there's 5 point guards in the NBA that are better than John Wall. People may not consider him the best. I like the fact that he's drastically improved his jump shot. Still turns the ball over a little bit too much, but I think he's definitely a top 5 point guard. Weston Flores says, which wrestlers would you like to see win the Royal Rumble? I'm not sure where exactly Cesaro is with his injury recovery, but if there was at any chance for him to make a comeback at the Rumble, I'd love to see him win. Finn Balor would be interesting to see win, as well as Bray Wyatt. I think Bray Wyatt is probably the most interesting because they got to do something with Bray Wyatt, because essentially all he does is get in the feuds that are partially entertaining, and at the end he loses the feuds. I think the only feud he ever won was with Jericho, which really didn't matter. He's got to do something significant, and I think winning the Royal Rumble would be that. I Only Follow FP says, will Jon Jones dominate the heavyweight division, or will he be tested? I think he'll be tested. I mean, he's been tested as a light heavyweight. You know, the Alexander Gustafsson fight tested him. The Vitor Belfort fight tested him. Daniel Cormier tested him to a degree. So I definitely think it's a new challenge. But I think that as long as his cardio stays where it needs to be, I think Jon will be the UFC heavyweight champion within the first 2 fights he has. If he has a title fight from the beginning, he'll win it. I appreciate you watching. God bless. Peace.